guys, it's Megan Whalen
Caroline Hampton.
and our podcast today is on the COVID effects on college sports. We live in a two-college town, Hampton-Sydney College, which is an all-boys school, and then Longwood University, which is both. And both of the fall seasons for sports were postponed to the spring semester because of COVID-19, and the fall transitioning into the winter months are colder, and that's when the viruses are more prevalent. So they had no choice, even though both schools are pretty small, they had no choice but to postpone them to the spring.
Yeah, and coming out of last spring, we kind of all had a feeling that the fall sports would be postponed, especially after all the spring sports last year were. So over the summer, it was kind of frustrating trying to practice and get ready for preseason and stuff. And I was moving in on August 1st, I think it was, and we got here August 1st, and then a week later they sent out the message saying that all of the fall sports were postponed, so it was kind of frustrating. I'm not sure how Hampton-Sydney did it, if maybe they knew beforehand or not, but...
No, they kind of waited to see, and then they ended up postponing it at the end of summer, I believe. And, they were all upset, but they're happy that at least they're getting a season anyway, because it could have been just, completely over for them in general.
Yeah.
So my boyfriend is on the Hampton-Sydney football team, and the rules and regulations are so different than what they were before. I can't see him at all, which is totally fine. It's just the way it is. He gets tested 3 times a week on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and they're all divided into workout groups based on their position so that there's not too many people in the weight room at the same time. And they all have to wear masks even around their roommates in common areas. They're not supposed to see each other even if they are on the same team. They can only see their roommates, and like I said, they still have to wear a mask when they're around them.
Yeah, so I play field hockey here at Longwood, and our rules are kind of similar. We have to get tested. It depends on who you play that week, on who gets tested and stuff. And so, football is such a huge team, so they're obviously divided up into smaller groups and stuff. But we have to get tested with we have a yellow group and a green group, and usually depending on what games we play and what days of the week we're played on, the yellow group will get tested or the green group will get tested. So far this year we've played Davidson, and everyone on the team had to get tested, I think, that week before, and then the day of Davidson before we got on the bus. And then last week we played Kent State, and the green group, I think, got tested on Monday and Friday. So it's a little bit different, but they split it up depending on half of who you live with is in one group and half of who you live with is in the other group. So what they're hoping is if somebody tested positive that you live with, you would probably be positive. So they're kind of just hoping on that. But it's been kind of nice because I had COVID over winter break, so I haven't had to get tested at all. So I'm not really too upset about it. But it's definitely weird because they have to split us up, and it's kind of just really exclusive. We can't hang out with a lot of people, and we can't really go places or anything, and it gets kind of irritating at some points when you're you don't want to hang out with your team for 8 hours a day every single day. So it gets a little frustrating, but the tests are interesting.
So do you have different groups based on how you guys practice and work out, or can you all work out and practice as a team?
We have, I don't know, it's hard to explain. In the fall, we had different groups based off of who we lived with and positions and stuff. And then now we all just practice together. There's only 24, I think, on my team, between 22 and 24. So we have to wear masks the whole practice, which is terrible. Running outside with the mask on, and it's better now when it's cold, but when it was hot, it was so terrible. But we have everyone practices together, but we stay the 6 feet apart at practice, and then sometimes we split up. half of defense will go on one end and offense will go on one end, and then we'll figure it out from there. But it's just kind of weird because it's for a while there we couldn't even scrimmage or anything, and now we're all getting tested and stuff, and we still have to wear masks, and it's just frustrating because it's you can't you can still play good hockey with a mask on, but it's just the mask and the mouth guard at the same time is just not a good combo.
Yeah, I can't imagine. It's probably so hard to breathe out there.
Yeah. What position does your boyfriend play?
He is a wide receiver, and he's been playing a lot this year. He was hurt, to begin with. He just had, a sprained ankle, something very minor. But he's excited that he gets to play because it's a lot of their senior year, and they were all worried that they wouldn't have a season. So the fact that they do is just very, it's a miracle, honestly.
Yeah.
And, yeah, they're very grateful for it. The games are a lot different than they were last year because Hampton-Sydney has such a close tie with their alumni. And so there was, so many people, a lot of people at the tailgates and a lot, Bojangles, stuff like that. But now it's, not like that anymore. And each player only gets 2 tickets to give out to people. So if my boyfriend's parents want to come, then I can't go, and it's just really frustrating. But it's all working out. It's just kind of unfortunate.
Yeah.
And the stadium looks so empty, and it makes me
gosh,
sad.
I know. It's so weird playing because at least Sydney gets fans in the stadiums and stuff, and we're not allowed to have fans in our stadiums. But we have a parking lot kind of behind the field, behind a fence, so it's technically not Longwood-owned property. So our parents and stuff have been going there and socially distancing and everything. But it's it's so weird when we walk out at the beginning of the games and both teams walk down the middle of the field, and then you kind of split off and walk out, and you line up by number, and then they talk about starting lineups, and they say your name and where you're from and your position and everything, and then you step out, you wave, and you come back in, and it's so weird because when you step out and you wave, you're waving at an empty stadium because that's where the ESPN Plus cameras are, so you have to step out and wave at them, and it's so awkward because you're playing and it's it feels like a scrimmage and nobody's out there.
Yeah.
And it's not the same, so it's the benches are super hyped though because everyone wants to just kind of make it more fun.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just it's so weird. I wish we had the 2-ticket rule. I'm hoping maybe it'll change eventually, but I don't really know if that'll happen.
Yeah, I know they're not allowed to have, the opponents aren't allowed to have anybody come to the games, even though they have a separate area, but it's just not working out that way. So I can't go to any of the away games either, which is pretty upsetting. But
do they have a recording kind of thing? I know that we use ESPN Plus. I don't know if
they do.
Oh,
they
really?
Do. I'm not sure what it is, but
it's probably through the ODAC or something.
Yeah, I think so.
That's nice though, because then you can at least stream the games and stuff if you can't go to them.
Yeah, exactly. It's not always the best coverage, but at least I can
see it. Yeah. It's the sketchy camera shifting and shaking. It's not the best. Yeah,
I know.
It kind of sucks. It's I don't know. It's interesting because for here, so all of Longwood plays in Big South except for field hockey. We're in the Mid-American Conference, and so I talk to people, and my boyfriend's on the baseball team here, and he has different rules than what I have because he's in the Big South and I'm not in the Big South. So the MAC has football and has bigger sources of income, sort of. So we have Miami University and Ohio University, Kent State, Ball State, big schools like that. So I think they have more money in that sense. So we have to get tested a lot more than they do. And it's just kind of frustrating because he can go and do certain things that I can't do, and I'm this is so ridiculous because we're all at the same school, but just because I'm in a different conference, I have to do different things, and it's just weird. But it's it's kind of nice because I can still see him and stuff.
Oh, you can? That's good.
Yeah. Or technically, so here we have a rule within the athletics where it's all of the groups at school, everyone's split up into 3 separate tiers. And tier 1 is the actual like athletes and the direct coaches. So that's like tier 1 is like the most like high intensity group. Like we get tested the most, and we have to stay the most like I guess grouped off or whatever. And then tier 2 is everyone that puts on the games. So like the ESPN recorders, the ball boys, the refs, the people who like set up the facilities and stuff and make sure everything's running smoothly. And then tier 3 is literally just anybody else. So it's like any of the rest of the population of Longwood, your family, like your classmates, like your teachers and stuff. So because he and I are both in tier 1, we're allowed to see each other.
Cool.
But it's also like we have to be careful because like they want us to wear our masks in like a common area, and like you can't spend like you want to spend less than 15 minutes together without a mask on just in case because like of the contact tracing. So it's like even though he and I have both had COVID, we both had it together at the beginning of January. So we can't get it or like give it or anything, but we can still be contact traced. So like if my roommate test positive for COVID, I'm a direct contact, and then if he was at my apartment, he would be considered a direct contact, and then his roommates would have to quarantine. So we try to be like super careful about it, but it's just weird with like the tiers and stuff because I'm like, how am I supposed to do things like group projects or tutoring or studying and stuff? And I'm like, technically, I could get in like so much trouble for it if I'm not like at the 6 feet with the mask and everything.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I know my boyfriend has to kind of, with the group projects and everything, he can't go into contact with them, like can't go to the library and wear a mask. So they just have to do things on Zoom and stuff like that.
And that's the hardest is like too, because it's like if he tested or like even if he didn't test positive, or if somebody on his team did, like you're shut down for that week, and you have to either cancel the games and forfeit, or you have to postpone and reschedule them. And it's just such a pain because they've gone through so much work as to like scheduling the whole season. And so like I never really realized it until I saw some of men's basketball here get some of their games rescheduled and postponed. And even my boyfriend was supposed to play Presbyterian, I think, last week, and Presbyterian had like 15 positive cases, so they had to reschedule. And they like last minute were like trying to pick up random games. So it's like you have to reschedule like the testing, the buses, the food, the hotels, the everything, and it's super.
There's a lot more
insane.
to it.
Yeah, and I'm like, I don't know. It just sucks because it's like all you have to do is get contact traced, and then you're kind of done for that week. And it just like it'll happen eventually. Like it's happened. I've seen like a lot of ACC schools and stuff. It's happened too, but it's like it just sucks because like you work so hard and like. Yeah. You're putting in so much time during the week, and like it actually sucks so bad. And then it's like, oh, your games are canceled this weekend. And you're just kind of like, awesome. Yeah. So it's frustrating. Really yeah, it sucks, honestly.
Yeah, there's so much unknown about COVID, and I feel like they still are just trying to like be extra cautious about it because they don't really know like everything about it. We don't know like how it's like if it could spread even after you have it, like you could be a direct contact, you could still carry it. Yeah. There's just a lot of unknown. And so they have to kind of do the most, and it's really frustrating and annoying. And it seems like the rules are just too much, but it's just
and I feel bad because like the rules look like they're ridiculous and like super extreme and stuff, but it's like they just want to be careful because like they're gonna lose so much money if they're not careful, and like people can get really sick and stuff, and it's just like it's really hard because I've seen I don't know if you've seen like there was this kid who played basketball at Florida State, and he had COVID in like I think August or something, and he was playing and he collapsed in the middle of the court. And like so they're really worried about like the health of student athletes when it comes to like COVID and stuff. And like even I was having the worst problems after I had COVID, and I had to like have like a heart monitor and everything because my heart rate was like usually resting. My heart rate's like 50 or something, but it was 120 when I was literally like just laying on my bed. And then if I did like any form of physical activity, like I could literally walk up 3 flights of stairs or something, my heart rate is like 220. And I'm just like, so for a while there, it was really hard because I couldn't do anything either. Yeah. But then like, and I've noticed like I've talked to other kids here. I'm not sure. I think I've talked to a few kids. There was a kid I met at the doctor's office from Hampton, and he played football there, and he was having similar problems. But it's like it just affects everyone so differently. So they have to be careful because like you can have COVID and then be perfectly fine and afterwards, or you can have COVID and be like super sick and have like the worst side effects.
Yeah.
And it just like the best way I could describe it is like it feels like you have asthma, but like you don't actually have asthma. Like it's like you can't breathe, but not because you're out of shape or anything, but because like your body just can't catch up. So it's like it also depends on the sports and stuff too, how you're affected, but it's just awful because like even like my boyfriend, he's a catcher in baseball, and like they don't do like a ton of running or anything, and he's always like, "Oh, I feel fine," and I'm like, "You don't actually run." Like I like no offense to baseball players, but like he runs what I think it's 90 feet maybe to the bases. Barely. Like I'm like, you run 90 feet, maybe 180 feet if you hit a double, and that's as much as you run. And I had my watch on the other day during the game, and I ran like 6.5 miles during just the game.
Oh my gosh!
And I'm like, so it just depends, I think, on sports and like the intensity on like how it affects you afterwards. Same with like positions and stuff. It's like I think for football, what is it like the wide receivers run the punch, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like the wide receivers would probably be affected worse than like the O-line or something.
Exactly. Yeah, and I think that also. Athletes have to quarantine for an extra week because of their lungs and like the problems that have been coming up because of it. And like the kids collapsing, and it's just insane that you could be so young and get coronavirus and then it messes up your lungs like that.
Messes it up so
It's bad. So scary.
Yeah, nobody told me about the quarantining for the extra week because mine was like it was before we got back to school or anything. And so when he and we were quarantined together, and we were like, okay, well, we have preseason starting next week. Like, what do? We have COVID. And so, like, once we started feeling better, we were still in quarantine and stuff. He and I went to the gym together, and I went and talked to the doctors about this, and they were like, this is probably where you went wrong. And I was like, oh, dang it. But we went to the gym, and he did, like, just kind of like a body weight. Like, he did, like, a squat, pull-up type of workout, and I did, like, an interval run on the treadmill. So I had worse effects because when I was running, like I went and did like a jog sprint, and he was just doing like squats and abs and stuff. And because I did that, they said that they think it like inflamed my lungs worse because I ran too early and I shouldn't have.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all of it just really sucks.
It does. It's so unpredictable. There's too much that we don't know about. But hopefully when everybody gets the vaccine, it'll change and all the sports will go back to normal. Because I feel like it's just so hard to separate from each other when you play, and to have to like wear a mask while practicing and stuff. That's just so insane to me.
Yeah, and it sucks because it's like it gets irritating. The masks definitely get irritating, and it just sucks too because it's like you want to see your boyfriends and you want to see your girlfriends and you want to see your friends, and like it really makes me upset sometimes when like it's a Friday night and I have a game the next day and I see all of my friends like that aren't on sports teams and they're like going out places, like dressed cute, hanging out, like doing fun things, and I'm like, I wish that was me. Like, I mean, I would be safe about it because like COVID and everything, but like I wish I could do that sometimes.
Yeah,
and it's like I get FOMO almost, and I'm like, why? It sucks.
Yeah, it really does. Well, I hope everybody enjoyed COVID effects on sports.